Welcome to Salty Steel Garage. This is Preston. I'm David. We just got done installing these fenders. They're an aftermarket plastic fender I got on Amazon. Pretty high quality fender. The install is actually very easy, but we did prep them and paint them prior to install. That was not very easy. But I think they turned out really nice. The fenders we had on them before were really
They were
cheap.
EAGs, so pretty much the cheapest aftermarket fender you can get.
Yeah, they were real cheap off of Amazon. The quality was okay for a couple years, and the powder coating just failed on them, and they started rusting away. So we replaced them with these. They look really nice, I think. Yeah, the paint turned out pretty nice. We'll show you how we did it. The last thing we got to do is drill a 3/4 inch hole right about here for these little lights. They're an amber LED light. They're pretty cool looking. They're smoked lens. And I'm going to measure about 15 times and drill a hole so I can put these in without messing up my freshly painted new fenders. Stick around, I'll show you how to do it, how we did this. This is probably the most important part of painting these fenders. There's some oil left over from the casting process on these fenders that you need to clean really well. The instructions say to clean it with Ajax and then acetone. So you wipe it down with Ajax, a little bit of water, clean it really well, rinse it off, dry it, and then acetone. So this point is where I started spraying the primer. It's a filler primer just for plastic. Pretty expensive. It's about $86 a quart. When I was spraying, I was noticing a bunch of little pinholes left over from like air bubbles in the casting, and I was putting it on real thick trying to fill those holes, so I didn't have to deal with it with the paint. You know, after I sanded it off, it'd be smooth. If you watch further, that didn't pan out, but
So right here we got coat number 1 done. A little light in a couple spots, but there's a second coat going on, so it'll all feeling good. The primer filler, sanded I guess with like 400 grit after it's done. Pretty textured stuff.
So there's some pinholes in the casting that I'm trying to fill. I'm trying to fill these pinholes, so when I sand it with 400, it turns out nice and smooth. But with filler primer, the texture always turns out pretty rough. So the best way to correct that is to spray some dry coat on. What it does is it helps guide you when you sand it. It helps you see the high and low spots as you're sanding. So here I am, I'm spraying on some guide coat. You just spray it on pretty light, let it dry, and then when you sand, you're basically sanding off the black, and it helps you get the surface really smooth for paint. So after the guide coat dried overnight, I sanded all the black guide off, revealing just a gray primered panel. And typically when you do this, it just leaves a really smooth surface. Ultimately, the only way you could really tell if it's smooth is by filling it with your bare hand. And when it feels ultra smooth, that's when you know it's ready for paint. Okay, so I got one fender done. This is what they're going to look like before paint. You can see that there's some black showing there. but that's the plastic coming up from the bottom. So essentially what I've done is I've sanded clear through the filler primer, and what you're seeing is the deviations in the black plastic surface that the Fender's made of. The primer itself almost feels rough on these ones that are just primed, so it's definitely smooth. This one is ready to be cleaned up and painted. I'll get the rest of them to this point, and then we'll start filming again. So I'm mixing up some paint to finish those fenders. It's cooled off finally. Paint calls for 8 to 2 or 8 to 4 to 1 parts, right? So we're doing 4 parts to 2 parts to half a part, if that makes sense.
Simple reduction.
It's just math.
It's just math.
Science, man. Anyways, I'll get this all mixed up, throw it in the gun, put a mask on, and do some spraying.
Your fenders are all wiped down now too.
I wiped them down with acetone, sanded the living crap out of them. I think they'll turn out pretty good.
Pretty decent.
I am no painting professional, that's for sure. Comes with a couple of glugs of reducer.
There you go.
Hardener.
It's about like that.
Pinch to grow an inch. Okay. You notice that I ran it through a filter. And
Ran
now,
the paint through the filter.
yeah, and then when I put it in the gun, I'll run it through a filter too, so we don't have any issues. See that chunk? Mm-hmm. That's why I use a filter.
Just about filled the gun up too.
So I'm just gonna spray the first coat. I'm gonna spray really light tack coat, and then let it set for 10 minutes.
Is there a flash times 10 minutes?
I think so. It's usually about 10 minutes. It's hotter than hell too, so should be about 10 minutes. I'll read the can. Of course, I don't want to make myself more stupid, so I'm going to wear a mask. So if I put this horizontal, the fan's going to be vertical. If I put it vertical, the fan will be horizontal. So hopefully you can hear that. I'm going to spray horizontal, or I like the fan vertical, so I'm going to set it up so we're spraying vertical like that. And then I'm going to do a test fan to see. That's about right. That's about how you want it. See how it's not, you don't get like a figure 8 or a narrow spot in the middle.
Straight pretty much all the way up and down, parallel.
So the gun's set up pretty good from when I painted last. So anyways, I'll get to the inside of these. Real light tack coat. Got a fish eye, I don't know what the hell that's all about.
Did it in a couple spots. Just a super light tack coat.
See, you take all the precautions, you follow all the instructions, and then you get fish eyes. I don't know, man. I even read the instructions. Okay, we'll let those tack up. Oh, I missed a spot. All right, so upon closer examination of these fenders, the fish eyeing, what I thought was fish eyeing, was actually some little pinholes in the casting of the fender itself from the factory on this ABS. It's not the best thing. It doesn't make me very happy, but sometimes you just have to deal with stuff like this. What it was is these fenders are intended to just be put on without being painted, but there's an option for painting them, and I wanted them to be nice and shiny like the Jeep. So I went to the extent of painting them, but while painting them I ran into all kinds of problems with these little pinholes that were presenting in the paint. If you look real close here, those are the pinholes. These are actually filled with paint and filler primer right now, but there's some deeper ones that didn't fill. So if you look real close, that black there, that's sanded smooth. It's smooth to touch here, but it's but those little pinholes, if I wouldn't have put the filler primer on them, they would have showed in the paint. So there was some deeper ones all over through here, and what I did is I sanded them down after the paint looked crappy. I sanded them down, and there were still holes there. So I mixed up some of this. Sorry about the camera swinging. I mixed up some of this glaze that I've used before, and this is made for like little pinholes and scratches and stuff that need to be filled before paint. So I mixed some of that up, and I used a latex glove after I mixed it up, and I just pushed it in real good into those holes and filled it, pushed it in real good. And now I'm just waiting for it to cure. It'll take about maybe 15 minutes. And I'm gonna sand this with some 320 and get it nice and smooth. And then I'll rough it up. I roughed the whole fender up with red Scotch-Brite pad this morning, getting it prepped when I started finding these holes. So anyways, I'll get this sanded smooth, and then Scotch-Brite again, and then I'll have to wipe them down with, I'll wipe it down with acetone to get any dirt or anything off it. And then I'll paint tonight. All right, third time's a charm here. Just gonna mix up some paint, spray these. I showed you all the filler that I put on, but let me show you how it turned out when I sanded it. So it seems to turn out pretty good. The pinholes are gone, they're all filled in. I'll just put a tack coat on where the paint's sanded through. Well, I'll tack coat the whole thing, then wait about 10 minutes, put a first coat, and then I'll do at least 2 coats. I might do 3. Get this nice and thick. A little bit left in the cup for probably the third coat probably. This will get at least 2 coats with what's in the sprayer. Okay, third time's a charm. Here we go. Okay, coat 2. Round 3. Coat number 3. Good job.
Oh, thanks.
I really should have cleaned the Jeep first. It's filthy.
There's no insert there.
Well, here's the new fenders all painted and installed. I got the little LED lights wired in and working, and looking pretty good, other than they're already very dirty. because we went camping the day after we put them on. Next thing up for this Jeep is we're going to build some custom tube rock sliders with incorporated steps in them. Should be a pretty cool project, so hope to see you on that one. Thanks for watching Salty Steel Garage. Saying, don't put your finger over the lens. And when you record, you gotta record in the horizontal position. Horizontal.
Is this not horizontal?
It is.
Okay then.
Okay.
Am I videoing you or Preston?
Both.
What?
Go ahead, video
As I
Preston.
walk? Or turn it off?
You realize it's recording right now, right?
Yeah, I do.
You can edit.
You're bothering me.
I would leave it as one whole.